To the outside of the house now and paying some more attention to these outbuildings. This building here, which you may not be able to make out, and I can't really get very close to, was most likely a carriage house. You can just about make out the arch of that door. So this is the before. We plan on clearing some of the overgrowth from the other outbuildings later today. So we'll do an after video and keep you posted. This was probably the carriage house, and this might have been a stable or maybe dwelling for the coachman or something like that. And it had at one point, if you can see there, a fireplace. It is actually a very, very large building. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode, and sorry in advance for it being so long since we've last posted. It's been a really busy week here on site and we just haven't had as much time to record content as we would have liked to, but we do have some really interesting updates for this video, some very positive progress, so we're looking forward to showing you what we've been up to and getting your thoughts on some of the work that we've done. So you remember from a previous video when I was talking about the basement and the issue that we had with water pooling in this part of the building. And this is the window that I was looking out, and you can see here what I was talking about. Now the water just accumulates in this sort of lower section here, which causes a lot of issues with damp in the basement because there's no proper drainage. So what we're going to be working on over the next week or so is excavating all of the land around the property, so that we can install a French drain to bring the water out in this direction, out away from the house. As you can see now, it's raining, and this has been the story for most of the summer right now. There's a huge amount of rain in South Kerry, so it's something that we need to address quite urgently if we want to start to properly dry out the house. It's also important because we need to set up scaffolding here in the next couple of weeks so that we can start work on the roof. So this is our priority for the next week or so. And if you'll see at the front, when we started clearing some of these brambles and stuff that had been growing here, we noticed that there was actually a retaining wall built along the front of the property here to stop this issue with damp, and it was done quite successfully. So when we started to pull back all of this overgrowth, we found that there was this retaining wall. Below me here is the basement level. So what we're trying to do now is take back all of the layers of dirt and brambles and old slate and whatever else has been dumped in here, so that we can prop this and make it secure for the next whatever 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So stay tuned. We'll let you know if we come across anything interesting. Wish us luck. So it's a big day on site today. We've just got the Groundworks team in to help us sort out the issues with our drainage. You can see the work has started there. That's Gavin in his digger, digging away. I'll take you around the other side though, and I'll give you a better understanding of what it is that we're actually trying to do here. So you'll probably remember from previous episodes that the basement had a huge issue with damp. In fact, most of the floors in the basement had been completely gone just because of the rising damp, and you can see that on this side. We haven't really spoken about this side of the house before, but all of the downpipes, or what's left of the downpipes and the gutters, just sort of dump the water down here into this ditch, and the water gathers or accumulates down here and seeps back in underneath the building, which is bad on many fronts. It's bad for the building, and it's bad for the foundations, and it's also bad for these rooms because there's a huge issue of damp in all of them. So what we're going to do is excavate right the way around it. This bank will be taken out by about 2 meters, hopefully, and we'll go down about 30 or 50 centimeters. We'll put in a French drain on this side and on the back of the building and on the other side of the building and on the front of the building. And all of that water then in theory at least, will be drained out towards the front of the property into what will be a pond. Now, in order to prepare for this work today, Gauthier and I had spent the previous 2 days, we haven't really been posting much about this, but we spent the previous 2 days excavating these retention walls or retaining walls. And if you can see in here, there's a gap of probably, I don't know, close to a metre at the front here, and probably half that towards the centre of the building. These were built to keep this mound at the front of the property off the front of the house, which is great because it meant that that front part of the building was actually quite dry. But these walls are both quite unstable now, both the retaining walls on both sides of the property, so we will also be installing a French drain there to keep the water away from the house. And you can see it on this side here. We'll install a French drain right down here, and that will join with the pipe that we're going to install there, and it will run out to the front of the property here into the pond, in theory at least. We did actually, when we were excavating this, find quite a few little artifacts that we'll do a video on. Nothing too extravagant. We were hoping to find a bullet casing or something like that, but there was nothing like that. But we did find some interesting trinkets, so we'll do a video on that. But yeah, just a quick update to let you know that progress is happening. There's some evidence of the progress happening, and stay tuned, more to come. Exciting stuff today. Tough day on site today, but lots of work done. And now Gauthier and I have just come down to Closeup for a bit of a drive, and we're greeted by the most spectacular sunset. Again, reminding us why we chose this to be our forever home in this part of Ireland. Spectacular. Morning all, this is day 2 of the major construction work, or the first of the major construction work that we've been doing here at Nuova. I just wanted to give you a quick update from yesterday's video where I was talking about the excavation work that we were going to be starting. So you can see here there's been really good progress. It's quite heartening to see these, like the first steps of actual care being taken for this building in a very, very long time. But we've excavated a lot of the earth from around the house here on the right hand side, brought it down to just below the floor level so that we can add a French drain. We'll be adding a French drain right the way along the side and back of the property, as well as in there. That is again the retaining wall that I spoke about yesterday, that's keeping this mound of earth back off the house. We'll add a membrane against the house here, a French drain running along the bottom, and then we'll backfill all of that with stone. Same here, there'll be stone over the French drain there on the right hand side. And on the left hand side, I think, is where the most significant transformation has been achieved. The space is completely opened up for the first time really since we've been here. We've been able to appreciate, you know, what this might have looked like when the house was originally built. So this bank here has been greatly reduced in size, and also the area around the house on this side has been really opened up, so you can appreciate, you know, how this door might have been used by either the previous tenants who were renting the basement or by the people that lived here originally, just as an easier mode of access. I'm not sure what that would have been. Probably actually servants would have been using that primarily. We've got another retaining wall on this side. You can see here there's very little of interest actually came out of this retaining wall. That was mostly filled with like Dolmio jars and different stuff like that. The other side we found some little treasures, so stay tuned for that video. So we've excavated right the way around, brought it again down to as low as we could. This concrete slab sort of prevented us from going down lower. So we'll have to excavate the earth further here before we lay the French drain. The French drain will have to be laid below the floor level and around the back here. So the French drain will come right down along that wall out to the front, where it will join the French drains that we have running along the front and that retention wall, and it will go out towards the trees there, where we'll have a pond eventually. So all of the water will be drained away from this building, which will allow, in theory at least, the basement to dry out. I've never really seen that view from here because it was full of brambles. That there would be the upstairs bedroom window, the room that I don't really like going into because the floor is not very stable. Well, that's it from day 2. I'll do more videos, or record more videos along the way today to give you all a glimpse of the progress that we're making here, but really positive stuff, really happy. We excavated, if you can remember back to previous videos, this bank that you can see here was much closer to the house. It was probably a metre or two closer to the side of the house. So that meant that anytime it rained, the water was just pooling in this sort of area here along the side of the property. And in doing that, it was sort of seeping under the foundations of the house into the basement level, which was causing all sorts of problems with the floor and damp and everything. So we excavated this bank so that it was further away from the house. We brought it back by about 2 meters, as I said already, and then we installed a French drain right the way around the property. And for those of you that don't know what a French drain is, which I didn't until a couple of weeks ago, a French drain is essentially like a perforated pipe that allows water to seep into it, and then it's fed out safely away from the area where you want to bring the water away from. So we excavated this trench right along the back of the property. This is what the French drain actually looks like. It just sort of looks like a pipe. You can't see the holes in it. They're almost imperceptible, but maybe you can see them there. They're very, very small, the slots. And then we covered it over with this stone to hold it in place and to make sure that the water was able to run freely into it. This is just these slabs, temporary solution. So that French drain runs right away along the back of the property, along the side of the property. Then we also, or Gauthier, he actually posted a video of this earlier last week, spent some time excavating this retaining wall at the front of the house. So this retaining wall was holding this mound of earth back off the front of the house, which was essential because otherwise that would have just caused all sorts of issues with damp, which was a great move by the original architect and builders. They had this, but it was crumbling. So when we did excavate in here, the wall sort of came apart a little bit. So Gauthier rebuilt the retaining wall here at the front. He's posted a video, as I said, where you can see that. So we filled the gap with this heavy stone, and we also installed this breathable membrane at the back in between the stone and the wall, so that the liquid really couldn't come in contact with the property at all. So this is important because these little pits here allow the wall to breathe. It means that the plastic isn't in constant contact with the wall, and that air can circulate in behind it, which is essential for these old stone buildings, so that they don't become damp. So we have another French drain here that runs along the front of the property down there, and it joins the other one in a T-junction just underneath here. It's the same story for the other side of the house. There was a retaining wall here as well, which again Gauthier has painstakingly restored, which you can see there. He's done a really incredible job with that, actually. It looks amazing. Again, there's the French drain, so that will be cut to size once we know what the final level is. That's just sort of a placeholder that runs down here, and it joins the final French drain, which runs along this side of the property. Now, just bear with me while I clamber over these mud. We had some pretty heavy rain here last night, so we installed this just in time. So you can see this bank also was much, much closer to the house before we started this work. We brought this back by, I'd say, at least another 2 meters. And it really opened up this space. We hadn't really been able to appreciate this area until we'd taken that bank back. And it sort of shows you just how generous this basement level could be as an apartment, or as well, it was used as an apartment, but just as a general living space. It's beautiful. It also will bring much more light in now that we've brought that back. And it's also given us access to this sort of area, which we hadn't really been able to see before because it was so overgrown. So this is the back basement room. And once again, we've installed this French drain. It runs right the way along the back of the property, along here, along the side of the house, where it gathers all of this water. It joins this one here, and then they connect under the driveway. So you can see this French drain from this side is running along here, and the other French drain is running along there. and they meet here and channel all of the water away from the house. So this is ultimately where they will drain to. We will eventually have a pond here in this sort of area in front of the house, and these drains will feed into that pond. And the aim is also for the rainwater goods, once they're in place, they will connect to another pipe which we've added here. You might actually be able to see it there, the smaller pipe. They will connect to that smaller pipe, and they will also be fed into this pond here. So just all done in service of getting the water away from the house, which is, you know, our main goal. Drying this thing out is priority number one for us. And that brings me to our next point. So installing the French drain is obviously incredibly important work, but the main reason we had to get the groundworks done and get them done so urgently is because scaffolding is going up, or is due to go up next week. And the scaffolding is going up because they're supposed to start work on the house, on the roof rather. And so we have the first trade due to show up imminently, and his job will be to strip all of this back. So strip all of these slates off, store them, because these are protected, they're blue banger slates. So he'll strip them all back, all off the roof, he'll clean them up, he'll store them. Any that are broken we'll have to replace like for like with blue banger, salvage blue banger. He'll then, once the timbers are exposed, he'll replace any timbers that are beyond repair, so cut them away and replace them like for like with new timber. He'll felt it, batten it, and then he'll put the slates back on, and that will do a huge amount of work for drying this baby out, because it's been a really long time where it's just been seeping water in, and that's led to all sorts of issues inside, as you can see. I've covered this in earlier videos as well, but the roof is in desperate need. So that's a really, really positive step in the right direction for us, and something we're very, very excited about. We have about 3.5 acres here, including this walled garden, which you can't really see in there. Shortly after we bought the house, actually, one of these big sycamores had fallen down in a storm. So we've gone for a mix of mostly broadleaf native trees, although they're not all native. But hopefully now that it's in the ground, it will start to do better. But we found this complete, I think it's an inkwell. It looks like an inkwell to me. It's ceramic.